to God of Rain. This is Will Sanchez. My special guest tonight is Cherie Yanek. She is a member of the North Brooklyn Runners and the race director for the Burning Man Ultra Marathon. I'm not too familiar with the Burning Man. I did look at the video, and wow, I thought this must be what Monty Python would have done at a marathon. So I'm thrilled to welcome Cherie to the show. Hi.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
It's great. Cherie, let's get started by introducing yourself to our audience. For example, where were you born? A little bit about your childhood.
I was born pretty close to here on Long Island, and I started running when I was pretty young. My parents were not runners, but they encouraged me. And my first race, I won. It was the 400 meters. And my mom was a very good mom, but didn't understand running. And so she gave me scrambled eggs before I ran, and I ended up throwing them up under the bleachers after. But I was really proud of myself and really caught the running bug early on.
How old were you?
13.
Oh, cool. So before then, what was your athletic endeavors like?
I'm very uncoordinated, so I can't really do anything else other than walk in a semi-straight line.
So you did this 400 meters, and you came in first, and you caught the bug.
Yeah. It was in 8th grade.
8th grade. So did you go on to college at some point?
I went to SUNY New Paltz for college, and we didn't have a super fast team, but I ran all through college and had a lot of fun with it.
What was your major in college?
Creative writing.
Oh, wait a minute, creative writing. I seen your blog.
Yes.
And it's fascinating. And could we talk about your granddad?
Oh, sure.
Tell us about him.
So my grandfather died about 3.5 years ago, and he actually died when I was at Burning Man. So it was kind of hard for me because I wasn't there at the funeral. But the day that he died, I actually rode my bike out there's a big temple at Burning Man. And the temple was built for one of the artists at Burning Man, built it for his friend years ago and burned it. And a lot of the art at Burning Man is burnt at the end of it. And the next year he built it again for his friend as a memorial, and people started writing messages. Mm-hmm. So that day I went out to the temple and I wrote on the wall to my grandfather that I wanted him to be strong and I wanted him to not be in pain anymore. And I didn't realize that he actually had died that morning and wasn't in pain anymore. So that was really hard.
That was 3 years ago.
Yeah, it was 3 years ago.
Okay. So. Were you the race director at that time?
Yeah. So when I first went to Burning Man back in 2008, there was a 5K, and I won that my first year, and I became friends with the race director of that race, my friend Steven, and I had a blast. But there needed to be an ultramarathon. I was really getting into ultras at that point, and that's really what I saw lacking at Burning Man. And a lot of people who go to Burning Man would think, no, that's not what Burning Man's lacking. But Burning Man's really about bringing your passion to it. So a lot of art, music, dancing. If you're into costumes, there's one group that does the Barbie Death Camp and Wine Bistro, for example. And then there's a Brie and Bach Club. And so whatever really you're into, you can bring and you can create it there. So I talked to a bunch of people, and there were some ultra runners, so I decided to create the Burning Man Ultra Marathons.
And what year was that?
That was in 2010. So this will be the 5th year.
Where is Burning Man?
So right now, if you went to where Burning Man is, there's nothing. It's in the Black Rock Desert, in this space where there's just absolutely nothing right now. But in the summer, every year, for the festival is a week long, in the Black Rock Desert, so it's about 2 hours drive from from Reno in Nevada, we create a city so everybody brings everything. They create an infrastructure, and the only things that you can buy when you're at Burning Man are ice and coffee. So everything else you bring or you give away. So if I go to your camp, I might go to your camp and have a mojito and dance under some misting tents. Or go to another camp, my friend's camp, he does grilled cheese camp. So
what was that?
Grilled cheese camp.
Oh, grilled cheese. Well, it sounds like are there local residents nearby?
Nobody really nearby. So you buy a ticket and you enter these gates to the festival. Mm-hmm. There are some surrounding towns, but they're not heavily populated because it's somewhat rural desert Nevada.
Okay, so everybody in this week-long festival are basically out of town. There's people coming specifically,
People come specifically for
and they
this
create
event.
art, you said.
Yes. So one of my friends, Kathy D'Onofrio, and she's actually won the race twice. She creates some really spectacular art with paper mache and brings it out and sets it up for a week in the desert. So there's just a lot of things. Some things people might do improv, or they might just do a performance, but a lot of it is set up in the desert.
Well, why is it called Burning Man?
There is a giant effigy of a man that is burnt on the Saturday night of the festival.
Is that before or after the ultra?
So the festival starts Sunday at 6 p.m. People can start coming.
I'm sorry, is that always like, if I remember, the last Monday in August or
It
something?
ends on Labor Day, so it's a week before the gates open, and we have the ultra marathon Wednesday morning at 5 a.m.
Okay, and that's, how long is it?
It's a 50K, so some people who need a little bit more time, I let them start early. So sometimes we'll usually have a few people starting at 4 a.m. But I think it's a lot of fun to start at 5 a.m. with everybody. There's a lot of really great energy at the start. And
Now, is it dark at 5 a.m.?
yes.
Okay.
So even though it's 5 a.m. and that seems like early morning for an ultra or any kind of race, it's actually kind of, late in the night at Burning Man. Not even that late, because when we go out, we'll see tons and tons of lights and art cars and people wearing glowing L-wire and people dancing and having fun, and so they don't really understand what we're doing sometimes. Why?
Oh, when you're running?
Yes, because we start in the dark and we all have headlamps.
Okay, so you're saying some people go there for the festival, not necessarily for the running?
Yes, yeah, most people, there'll be about 70,000 people there this year. And most of them will not be for the running. We'll probably have last year we had 136 start and almost 100 finish.
Okay, we are a very small percentage of the festival.
Yeah, but people are starting to know about us, so that's fun.
Obviously, with you're in charge of it, promoting it. Well, what kind of weather is in that part of the year? Is it tremendously hot?
So it's the desert, so it gets cold at night and hot during the day. So one year I ended up starting in a long sleeve shirt, very cold at the start. Other years, you're finishing in just a sports bra and shorts. Or some people actually run naked.
I'm sorry?
Some people run naked.
So this is clothing off. They went with shoes, obviously.
No, some people actually run completely naked without shoes.
Okay, and I think I saw a picture when they put their bib number on their butt.
Yeah, you can write it out. You can write it wherever you want with a Sharpie. So, but it's all about expressing yourself. I wear a tutu and a sports bra with fringe, and people dress up like cats or wear giant dresses or whatever they really want.
Okay,
So-
well, tutu, we have a picture of you wearing a tutu. Let me show that.
That's my rainbow tutu. I've worn that. That was in the Brooklyn half.
Right.
But I have a bunch of tutus. I have a couple pink ones and multicolored ones.
Okay. Okay, so you're into these costumes. Now, was there any time where you had what did I call it, a wardrobe mishap?
I've had chafing issues in races due to wardrobe issues, but more just regular running clothes not working out so well.
Well, Bernie, man, you must meet only 136 runners, but I'm sure you must meet some interesting characters. Tell us about a few that are memorable for whatever reason.
So there was this one guy that was a little bit strange. My boyfriend and I met this guy that had a frame around his face, and he gave us all joysticks, and we were supposed to pretend that he was wearing these crazy glasses with this unicorn horn on his head, and the game was Save the Unicorn. So we were all pretending that we were in an interactive video game. And there's a hug deli where you can go up and order whatever kind of hug you want. And I like to order off the menu. So if the cinnamon swirl hug that's my recommendation.
What's it called?
A cinnamon swirl hug, and it's where everyone kind of holds hands and rolls into you with a giant hug.
Oh.
So you can order different kinds of hugs at the hug deli.
That sounds like a great festival.
A lot of times you'll just be biking to looking at art, and so one year we were biking and we saw this guy just had a little keg on the back of his bike that he was just bringing around and giving people beer that he made himself. And then we went to the Conversation Cafe and we ordered a conversation instead of food.
Interesting.
So
It's different types of conversations.
Yeah, so you can, they tell you, what kind of conversation do you want?
Okay. Well, let's jump back a little bit back in time. Do you record the first ultra that you did?
Yeah, it was the J Challenge. It's a race that no longer exists. And everybody I know who's done it still has really fond memories of it. But I had a friend who told me about it, and it sounded really horrible. You run up and down a ski mountain, and you ran in brooks for about 4 or 5 miles, and it's just really technical, constantly turning. You ran in swamps, mud pits. At one point, the swamp was up to here, and I remember pulling myself out. We had to climb down a waterfall.
Wait a minute, up to here?
Yes.
I would have been scared.
I was like, don't think about what's under the water.
Well, how did you know you weren't going to go deeper than that?
I didn't, and it was totally frightening. And I mean, just one of the hardest races, probably the hardest race I've ever done. And but then I finished, and it was so much fun and so amazing. And so that was a 33-mile race, and then I jumped up to 50-milers after that. And it wasn't that much more time because that race was just so difficult that it took so much time.
Right. Besides Burning Man, is there a ultra marathon that you look forward to?
There are a couple good ones. I love Vermont 100-miler. The people are so amazing. A lot of the neighbors come out and help out and volunteer with the race, and it's just so gorgeous. You get to the top of a hill, and there, these little hills and meadows and barns and cows, and it's just so picturesque.
And you got horses there too.
Yes, the horses are a little scary. A few years ago, my pacer and I were running, and this horse got off course. And my pacer was very allergic to horses, and I was totally scared. So it was a little bit weird.
Weird. Well, I think I'd rather have that than being in a swamp to my neck.
Yeah, I mean, Vermont, the footing is great.
Yeah.
Most of the time it's beautiful.
Well, let's talk about the North Brooklyn runners, because they're relatively new, maybe
Like a few years old.
So how did they find you, or you find them?
Pretty early on, I was running with my friend Nelson, and we saw a sign that said North Brooklyn Runners, probably like maybe a few weeks after they started. And I remember sending them an email, and I was really nervous they wouldn't accept me. I was saying, I haven't run my first 100-miler yet, but I'm going to, and I've run Boston this many times. And I thought they were like really hardcore, and they were like, "You're crazy, come run with us." And so it's just been they've really grown a lot throughout the years.
Well, I know you guys do a lot of work with the Dashing Whippets, because I've seen the photos, and you got a great photographer on your team.
Yeah, there are a couple of really good photographers, which is always nice to have in your lives.
I know,
So
because
they do some really nice photos.
Ben Coe, who's on the Dashing Whippets, is always recommending your photographers. We're doing a great job.
Yeah, which is really nice, because I mostly run ultras, and you're running an ultra and nobody takes a picture of you. Nobody, you're in the woods by yourself, and so it's really nice to have some people who are out there taking photos.
Well, Cherie, let's go back to because we have these trinkets here. What? I'm sorry.
They're medals.
I apologize. Trinkets. Let's show this one.
Okay, so every year the medals have always been somewhat unique. And my first year, I was looking into what should I do about a medal, and my good friend Michelle and I were looking into different designs. She's an artist friend of mine, and she actually designed this medal the first year, which she silk screened on, and the man. So it was pretty simple, but I really like her design.
Uh-huh. This is the first year.
And that's the first year.
What year was that?
That was 2010. So we looked into metal ones, and it was a lot. It was pretty expensive, and so Burning Man, nothing costs money once you get there. You buy a ticket, but when you get there, as I said, you can only buy coffee and ice. And so we don't charge anything for the race. Your race fee, quote unquote, is a gallon of water and a running snack to share. And running snack is pretty broad. We've had people bring beer, and people bring watermelon, potatoes, goos, brownies, all sorts of things. Because of that, I don't charge a fee, and so a lot of this is just done on my own. And so my friend Rochelle and I looked into it, and we thought these were affordable, and we really liked them. And because Burning Man is a festival, we're building a giant wooden effigy that's being burned. I really like the idea of using wood.
Okay. This effigy, who builds it?
So no, we don't build it. It's built by an art crew that gets out there before the festival.
Oh,
so
okay.
it's when most people get out there, it's already set up. A lot of times you can climb up in it, and then the Saturday of the festival, there's a giant spectacle with fireworks and burning it, and so it's pretty interesting.
Awesome. Well, so what's some of the other
So
medals?
this was created, that one right there, the pink one was created the second year, using a design that my friend Rochelle again made, and my boyfriend actually spray painted those. So I've always had help with them, which has been important, and we wanted to do something that was almost obnoxiously big. So it's bigger than most of our other medals, as you can see.
Oh, well, as you know, runners like big.
I know.
They like big bling. Okay, so this is the second year.
That's the second year.
And what's the third year?
The third year is this wooden star right here, and so I really like the idea of doing something on a star, and
So we're back to small here.
Yeah, back to small, but actually that's a wood burning pen, and my boyfriend Wayne actually burned all of them, so they're all slightly different, and they all say BRC 50K, and on the back they all say 2010, but the front he did slightly different design for everybody, and then
And that's over 100 of them, right? You said 140.
that year there were only about 75, but it's still. He spent a lot of time that summer working on that.
My God, he must love you a lot.
He does. He's pretty good. And then this one right here was the ones we did last year, and this involved. I like the idea of gingerbread men because it
Oh.
reminded me of the man, and so we created stencils, my boyfriend and I, and spray painted on the sidewalk on newspaper in front of our building at like 10 o'clock at night before we were going. But this year, I think we're getting some help from some other runners who want to create them for us. So.
Oh, okay, so you haven't yet decided on the design.
No, so the design is going to be. I was talking about it with my friend Stephen, who's helping me. It's going to be actually a running, like Burning Man.
Okay, well you have this here.
And this, so the way Burning Man really works is it's a culture of gifting and of giving. And so one of the runners, I've had a couple of runners email me and say, what can I give out? So one runner gave out bumper stickers that say BRC 50K. And another runner, him and his family actually created these tiles, which are really nice, and I absolutely love it. It's like such a nice memory to have. And then another runner created these amazing water bottles, which the design is beautiful, and I use it all the time.
Ooh, it's heavy, it's full.
Yeah, it's full of water, but it's a pretty good water bottle and such a nice design, so people are always wanting to give back. My friend Beth is actually going to work on creating some shirts for the runners this year, because we've never done shirts before. Just because it all comes out of my pocket, everything I do. So we haven't always. Who needs another
That's
shirt?
right.
But Beth wants shirts, so she's going to
Okay.
create something pretty neat.
And then you have this little buckle.
I brought one of my buckles just to see. That's one of the smaller ones. That's the buckle from the Vermont 100, which is that one I really like. I like that buckle. I think it's really beautiful. Some of the buckles aren't as attractive, but that one I
It's one
absolutely
of your
love.
favorites.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite. And
Now, I think to earn this, you have to complete the 100 in 24 hours or less.
yeah, exactly.
And that's the gold standard.
Yes, it's the gold standard. So I'm running Vermont again this year. So looking forward to hopefully running faster than I've done, because I've had some tough times. But last year I had really great pacers, and despite having all my troubles, they were absolutely amazing.
Oh.
And then this, my friend. So my friend Utah is his playa name. Burning Man people will take names. So my playa name is Cherry Bomb.
It's like an avatar.
Yeah, kind of, pretty much. And so my friend Utah made this for me. He wood burnt it for me, and he just really respects the work that I do and the changes that the ultra marathon has brought. And so he was inspired and created that. And so that's one of my favorite things. I have it hanging on my wall at home, and it's just when there's people that say that their first. I have a couple friends, for instance, my friend John Budge, my boyfriend, a couple other people I know, my friend Steven, this was their first ultra. So that means a lot to me. And now that they're like a lot of them are ultra runners, that's really exciting that they're doing this, and it's initiated with Burning Man.
It's exciting that you're able to bring in the newbies with their first ultras.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the most special things to me. And a lot of times people say, oh, is there a time limit? And I always say, no, there's no time limit. I don't want there to be a time limit. I want people to take as much time as they need. And so last year, this one runner, Blaze, I think he ended up starting a little bit late, but he went out there, and I mean, it was the point where, you know, all the runners had gone home. I had showered and eaten, and my friend Ray and I went to cheer him in, and he was just, you know, he was so exhausted, but he did it. I think it took him almost like over 10 hours to do the 50K, which, I mean, it gets really hot in the middle of the day. So we start at 5 a.m. Because the weather can be kind of iffy at Burning Man. For instance, nights can be very cold. I've had nights in the 30s. Days can be well above 100 degrees. And then the real challenge are the dust storms.
Oh, because I remember seeing people wearing goggles.
Yes, but most of the dust storms, from my experience, tend to be later in the day, so we keep most of them away. But I run with bandanas, so in case you need it, I usually just wear close-fitting sunglasses. But a lot of people will run with their goggles right with them, or my friend Beth wore hers the whole time.
Your ski goggles and
yes,
running.
I have ski goggles that I wear at Burning Man. But you want to be able to keep away the weather, so the longer you're out there, the more elements people are exposed
cool.
to.
And what kind of trail is it? Is it hard surface?
So it's actually it's like sand almost, but it's like this alkaline dust. So it's pretty, at times it can be kind of like uneven, at times it's like packed dirt, it feels like. So here's how soft and how few rocks there are. So a few years ago, Burning Man has a tendency to destroy everything you have. So I brought this really expensive tent my first year, and it just killed the zipper. So what I usually do is a lot of times I'll just bring an old pair of sneakers, wear them for the week, and throw them away. So in 2011, I brought an old pair of sneakers, and I had worn them a few months before, but I hadn't worn them in a while. And I brought them out at Burning Man. Something had changed in the shoes, and they just felt awful. So after, it was probably around mile 11 or 12, something like that, I took off my shoes, and I ran the rest of the race in my socks. Because I was just in pain. I had the biggest blister I've ever, I had this enormous blister around my foot like that, and I just could not run with it. So, you know, you could, if you want to run barefoot, you definitely can. But because of the alcohol,
I've heard even naked.
yes, exactly. But because of the dust, can actually cause, they call it ply a foot. And so if you walk around barefoot a lot, it can actually cause cracks, and it's supposed to be really unpleasant. So I pretty much, you know, wash and keep clean all the time because I don't want to have any problems.
Wow.
It's a very harsh environment. Like a few years ago, I got sunburn on my lips, and my lips blistered, and I ended up having dust in it. It was not fun.
Okay, well, I think you make it a lot of fun. You certainly, it has fun, it has challenges, has a festival. It's more of a lifestyle for a week. And it sounds like it's more of a spiritual cleansing, it sounds like, because all these different events. That you
There's a lot going on at Burning Man. So you'll run by these, they're called art cars, so a giant truck that might look like a rubber ducky or a boom box or a birthday cake or a castle or a dragon or a pirate ship. And they'll be playing music and people are dancing. And
reminded me of a Monty Python movie. I could see, what's that director, Terry Gilliam, doing a great job of, if he were doing a marathon, it would be Burning Man.
Yes.
Listen, on that note, thank you so much for coming in. I wish you all the great successes in both the North Brooklyn Runners, Burning Man, and anything your heart desires.
Thank you.
This is great.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.